There are mounting calls tonight for CMPD to change the way it handles big protests like the ones we've seen over the last week, specifically when it comes to deploying chemical munitions or pepper bullets. Our Glenn Counts is uptown tonight to explain those concerns. Glenn?
Well, Phil, since Tuesday night, there's been a growing cry in the community to ban the use of chemical munitions. As a matter of fact, Councilman Braxton Winston has has a proposal to defund Charlotte Mecklenburg Police from spending money on those items. So, how would officers respond without them? And is there a acceptable alternative that the community might find be more palatable? Well, those are serious questions that are being asked tonight. You have seen the protests and the police response when some in the crowd turned violent.
It was my colleague, the youth minister at my church, got gassed the other night at 9:15 p.m.
Pastor John Cleghorn of Caldwell Presbyterian is one of a number of pastors who have walked with protesters, not to take sides, but to keep the peace. The pastors feel like they had an agreement with the city and think it was broken.
When we saw the police use highly militarized aggression tactics.
Cleghorn and other clergy would like to see chemical munitions no longer used and a better way found.
I'm not sure what that option would be.
Dr. Joseph Coons is a policing expert with UNCC's Criminal Justice Department. One of the reasons police departments started using chemical agents for crowd control is because of scenes like this in Chicago in 1968 when police used nightsticks to beat protesters into submission, a tactic that wasn't considered lethal at the time.
That's sort of why we moved away from using sticks as a primary mechanism for non-lethal force, because in some cases they become lethal.
Police say that when bricks, rocks, or water bottles are thrown their way, or when looting or vandalism takes place, they will respond. While the FOP is willing to listen, they believe the alternative to chemicals is worse.
To lose this type of less lethal option, it doesn't leave many options left. And that's the question, is what is the alternative?
I guess what we're looking for is some sense of proportionality. Are rubber bullets and tear gas and other highly militarized tactics needed in the face of fireworks or in the face of water bottles.
And Glenn, police do have some uniform personal equipment for protection as one layer.
Well, they do, and obviously when you look at what the riot police wear, I mean, it's thick, it's heavy, big helmets, all that stuff. It looks very intimidating, almost looks like it's impenetrable, but it's not. Keep in mind that despite all that gear, 10 officers were injured this week, although none of them, thankfully, were injured seriously.
Glenn, thank you. Today, CMPD Chief Kurt Putney was asked specifically about the calls to stop using chemical munitions like tear gas or pepper spray. He said he doesn't think that's a good idea, that it would lead to more problems.
Without the ability to disperse an angry crowd or a violent crowd that is damaging property and assaulting people with chemical munitions, we're going to harken back to what we experienced in the 50s and 60s of physical force, which is absolutely unacceptable to me. I think we're better than that as an organization, and we definitely should be better than that as a city.
Chief Putney also said he doesn't know of any big cities that don't use those tactics, but CMPD is conducting that external review we mentioned to see if there are any policies that need changing. One change he already made was creating a duty to intervene policy. It requires officers to step in if they see another officer crossing the line.